Hi, everybody. Um, I can't see you, but I hope you can see me. And I hope you can see our Mackey chair, Professor Marilyn Chin. We had a snafu, I guess, tonight with the way that Facebook works with Zoom. And so that didn't work for the Facebook Live, according to our guru of these things, Whitney in the communications office. So we've switched over to YouTube, and while we're waiting for you to get to YouTube, we are supposed to fill the time. So that's what we're doing. And so I'm here with Professor Chin. We were just talking about the weather in Wisconsin, and she's in San Diego. And I was thinking, wow, it's been amazing that we're all breathing the same smoke.
Sorry
How's the weather?
about that.
Yeah, been very hazy skies here in Wisconsin as we breathe the smoke from the West Coast fires. So, Professor Chin, tell us about your Mackey class that you're teaching. How are the students performing there in your class?
Oh, I love my students. They're so great. I mean, I just we're doing a bunch of forms. They were sort of, I mean, I'm off class that I sort of took from my my MFA students. I used to teach this class as a kind of poetry boot camp, right? And we would spend 15 weeks examining different forms, long line, short line, free verse forms, sonnets, blues poems, song forms, haiku, quatrains, dramatic monologues, ballads, narrative poems, avant-garde forms, prose poems, elegy, translation, etc. So it's kind of a poetry boot camp that I give to my MFA students once in a while. And so in the Mackey class, we've been practicing some of these forms. So I thought today I would read some of the form, some haiku, sonnets, and so forth to prove that I do what I say, right? But do what I preach. So
That's
I was
right.
just, yeah. And they had a haiku party the other day, and it was so fun. They were just, it was so blissful. It was great. We didn't drink any sake. Didn't drink any tea. We had to do it virtual. They had to do it virtually, but they had a great time. So yeah, it's been really fun, and there's such wonderful students. They take care of each other. They're really kind to each other. Not like some MFA classes in which people throw fruits and vegetables at each other. I remember at one party, one last one meeting, I don't know what happened, but they were throwing the whole fruit plate at each other out. So that's a long story, but I'm really enjoying my my Mackey class. They're really talented, and I love undergraduate students in that they're so fresh. They're not self-conscious, so they just write all kinds of beautiful weird stuff. So I'm really delighted to be working with them.
Well, the class isn't over yet, Professor. You might have a virtual food fight before it's over.
Oh, I know. Ben likes to cook, so there might be a there's some good food poems in there. So I think there might be a virtual food fight soon. Yeah, there might be something going. A virtual food fight soon, but I'm really enjoying my time. The semester flew by. What happened to it? Wow.
Quickly. Time flies in poker time. So Marilyn, you are our 30th.
Yes.
This is the 30th anniversary of Mackey, and our first Mackey was the poet Tess Gallagher. Do you know Tess? Tess Gallagher?
Yeah, no, I met her once. Right? Yeah, I met her a long, long time ago. Yeah, yeah. And I also met Raymond Carver a million years ago. I was just, yeah, I was really young. I went to one of his readings.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was so long ago. Yeah, um I remember she had red hair.
Mm.
Is that true? No, it's not. Well, not that she's a true redhead, but I'm not sure if I have my memory. Uh, yeah, is intact here. I'm not sure. Did she have red hair? Yes, I think she did have red hair.
We can be fact
Beautiful red locks, right?
we can be fact checked on YouTube. Well, I've got
And
the thumbs up from the Wizard of Oz that we can start the show, that people have found their way over to where they're going. So I'm going to do an intro now, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. Okay. Well, welcome everyone, and we're sorry for the technology snafu. But typically, that's my fault when there's a technology problem. So I'm just going to say it's my fault. I can take the blame. And good evening. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad to start this event. And this is Beloit College's annual Lois and Willard Mackey keynote reading. And our Mackey chair tonight is the inimitable poet, Marilyn Chin. And for those of you who don't know me, I should have said already, I'm Chris Fink, an English teacher here at Beloit. I've also been coordinating the Mackey residency now for nearly half of its 30-year history, which makes me feel proud and old. Tonight is a special Mackey keynote. For one, it's a nice round birthday, the big 3-0. And for the first time in our 30-year history, we're hosting a virtual reading. Professor Chin is not with us here in Beloit. She's home in San Diego. But she is teaching her workshop online, and I have spies in the class that keep me appraised of how it's going. And they tell me she's doing great. One good thing about the virtual format, now that it's working, is that the event becomes public, and hopefully there are more alums out there than usual. And I hope you can engage with each other. I know Facebook had a chat comment function. I'm not sure about YouTube. So anyway, help our author feel the love by clapping if you feel like it. All right. Before I introduce our ridiculously accomplished poet, I want to say a few words about the Mackey program, which was established by the late Willard Mackey, Beloit College class of 1947, in honor of his late wife, Lois. Bill Mackey, as he was known, enjoyed a brilliant career in advertising in New York, and Lois loved literature and was an enthusiastic reader. Her memory and Bill's lifelong dedication to Beloit College and to the value of creativity led to the founding of the Distinguished Writers Program. Students in the audience, I know these are unprecedented times. The founders of this residency were freshmen on campus 79 years ago in similarly unprecedented times. Bill and Lois were returning from a date in downtown Beloit as freshmen when they learned of the attack on Pearl Harbor. I think today's Beloiters will have no trouble imagining what it's like to have your romantic life interrupted by a global emergency. Bill enlisted in the U.S. Marines and served overseas, but after years of letter writing, the couple were reunited. They both graduated from Beloit and were married in 1948. And they had 3 children, Barbara, William, and David. And I believe all 3 of the Mackey sibs, and maybe even a grandkid or 3, are in attendance tonight. I'd like to ask you to all send some hand clapping emojis into the air for the Mackey family for their stewardship of the program their father and grandfather created. Way to go, Mackeys. So last week, I was invited to a quite posh virtual ceremony dedicated to tonight's speaker. On September 25th, the Poetry Foundation awarded Marilyn Chin the Ruth Lilly Prize for Lifetime Achievement. This is a big deal, folks. We have with us tonight one of the most admired and loved poets in the country, truly. At the ceremony, Professor Chin was feted by several literary luminaries, but what struck me the most were the comments made by some of the younger Asian American poets in the audience. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Marilyn, one young poet said. I needed Marilyn. Another said, you are hilarious. I'm not sure people understand how funny you are. Yet another said, Marilyn is fierce. She's completely ferocious. She has a stiletto in her heel. The stiletto in Chin's heel is her razor-sharp verse and wit. Chin refers to herself as an activist, subversive, radical, immigrant, feminist, transnational, Buddhist, neoclassical, nerd poet, and a poet of the body. Her poetry, which Beloit creative writing students have been reading in many of our classes, celebrates her identity as a Chinese American and explores the pains of cultural assimilation. It offers no quarter to the hegemonists and lists their offenses, the power of exclusion, what gets walled in or out. Yet while her poetic persona is audacious, subversive, earthy, cheeky, irreverent, her attitude toward the art itself is reverent and inclusive. You have to know the tradition in order to subvert it, Chin says. She refers to Emily Dickinson as Auntie Emily. Maxine Hong Kingston is Big Sister. And in our correspondence, she refers to me as Brother Chris, reminding us that in our increasingly balkanized identity landscape, those who identify with the word are part of the same tribe, the same family even. Thank you, Marilyn Chin, for reminding us of that truth. Chin's poetry fuses East and West, personal and political, immigrant and transnational, classical and modern. It's been part of her goal, she writes, to reclaim Chineseness from the modernists. Reading her work chronologically, one views the burgeoning of a ceaseless formal experimentation. Love lyrics, sonatinas, loose haikus, border ghazals, nocturnes, Chinese quatrains, brown girl manifestos, moving toward the realization of that goal. Indeed, in Hard Love Province, Chin invents a bifurcated Chinese-American floating quatrain to elegize a lost love. Out of a lifelong commitment to two poetic traditions arises a trickster, polyphonic phoenix with a sensibility fierce yet tender. Our Mackey chair, Marilyn Chin, was born in Hong Kong and grew up in Portland, Oregon. She earned a BA in Chinese literature from the University of Massachusetts and an MFA from the Iowa Writers Workshop. A noted anthologist, translator, and educator, as well as a poet and novelist, Chin is the author of the books Dwarf Bamboo, The Phoenix Gone, The Terrace Empty, Rhapsody in Plain Yellow, Revenge of the Mooncake Vixen, Hard Love Province, and A Portrait of the Self as Nation. Chin's work has been featured in the Norton Anthology of Literature by Women, the Norton Anthology of Modern and Contemporary Poetry, the Penguin Anthology of 20th Century Poetry, the Best American Poetry, and Bill Moyer's PBS series, The Language of Life. In 2017, she was honored by the Asian Pacific Islander Caucus and the California Assembly for her activism and excellence in education. Chin co-directed the MFA program at San Diego State, where she is Professor Emerita in the Departments of English and Comparative Literature. She has taught and read at workshops all over the world and has recently been guest poet at universities in Beijing, Shanghai, Singapore, Hong Kong, Manchester, Sydney, Berlin, and most recently, now Beloit College. In 2018, she was elected a chancellor of the Academy of American Poets. Please put your virtual hands together for our sister, Marilyn Chin. Then please hang on to your seats. Marilyn, welcome. Take it away. I think you might be muted.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Brother Chris, for that lovely introduction. My brother Chris Fink is my handler, my fictionista friend, and I thank you for your endless enthusiasm for taking care of me through these unprecedented times. He's my virtual road manager who kept the show going through these uncertain times. And I want to thank the Mackey family for honoring us with this generous gift of poetry. And to quote the great poet, thinker, revolutionary Audre Lorde, poetry is not a luxury. It is a vital necessity of our existence. So I thank the Mackey family for the continuous support of poetry. And I thank the English department and the creative writing program for their support. Thanks for teaching my work and getting the students psyched up for my visit. I hope to be able to meet you in person in the future. And I thank my students, my wonderful students in the Mackey workshop. You warm my heart every week with your beautiful and weird poems. Thank you for your kindness toward one another in these difficult times. You are our future poets, the inheritors of this important genre called poetry. So I just talked a little bit about the Mackey workshop, how it began as a forms class that I used to offer my MFA students as a kind of poetry work boot camp, wherein we spend 15 weeks examining different forms. And so today I'll read some poems to illustrate some of those forms, to show that I do what I preach, all right? I'm going to begin with a poem called How I Got That Name. So this poem began as a dramatic monologue. We're not writing dramatic monologues this semester, but it began as a dramatic monologue in the fashion of Shakespeare and Browning, but it's kind of a speech act that I wrote this 30 years ago, and it's now considered an Asian American anthem. So, and I have to read it, or else people will complain and say, "Oh, you didn't read How I Got That Name." It's like the Stones have to play Satisfaction over and over again. But here it is. It is called How I Got That Name, an essay on assimilation. I am Marilyn Chin. Oh, how I love the resoluteness of that first person singular, followed by that stalwart indicative of be, without that uncertain ing of becoming. Of course, the name had been changed somewhere between Angel Island and the sea. With my father, the paper son, in the late 1950s, obsessed with the bombshell blonde, transliterated Mei Ling to Marilyn. Nobody dared question his initial impulse. We all know lust drove men to greatness, not goodness, not decency. And there I was, a wayward pink baby named after some tragic white woman, swollen with gin and Nembutal. My mother couldn't pronounce the R. She dubbed me #1 female offshoot for brevity. Henceforth, she will live and die in sublime ignorance, flanked by loving children, the kitchen deity, while my father dithers, a tomcat in Hong Kong, trash, a gambler, a petty thug, who bought a chain of chopped suey joints in Piss River, Oregon, with bootleg Gucci cash. Nobody dared question his integrity, given his nice, devout daughters and his bright, industrious sons, as if filial piety were the standard by which all earthly men were measured. Oh, how trustworthy our daughters, how thrifty our sons, how we managed to fool the experts in education, statistics, and demography. We're not very creative, but not adverse to rote learning. Indeed, they can use us, but the model minority is a tease. We know you are watching now and we refuse to give you any. Oh, bamboo shoots. The further west we go, we hit east. The deeper down we dig, we'll find. History has turned its stomach on a black polluted beach where life doesn't hinge on that red wheelbarrow, but whether or not our lover episode of Santa Barbara will lean over a scented candle and call us a bitch. Oh Lord, where have we gone wrong? We have no inner resources. Then one redolent spring morning, the great patriarch Chin peered down from his kiosk in heaven. Saw that his assistants were ugly. One had a squarish head and nose without a bridge, Another's profile long and knobbed as a gourd. A third, the one, never, never marry. And I, his least favorite, not quite boiled, not quite cooked, a plump pomfret simmering in my juices. Too listless to fight for my people's destiny. To kill without resistance is not slaughter, says the proverb. So I wait for imminent death. The fact that this death is also metaphorical is testament to my lethargy. So here lies Marilyn Chin, married once, twice to so-and-so, a Lee and a Wong, daughter of the virtuous Yuequin Wong and Gigi Chin the infamous, sister of a dozen, cousin of a million, survived by everybody and forgotten by all. She was neither black nor white, neither cherished nor vanquished. Just another squatter in own bamboo grove, minding her poetry, when one day heaven was unmerciful and a chasm opened where she stood, like the jaws of a mighty white whale or the maw of a metaphysical Godzilla. It swallowed her whole. She not flinch, nor writhe, nor fret about the afterlife, but stayed solid as wood, happily, a little gnawed, tattered, mesmerized by all that was lavished upon her and all that was taken away. Thank you. So there are many ways to write a there are many ways to write an identity anthem. So that's like a not quite a spoken word thing. As I've said, it is a piece written to be spoken, but it was written for the page first. Now here is a blues poem. We're writing blues poems this week. So this is called Blues on Yellow. The canary died in the gold mine. Her dreams got lost in the sieve. The canary died in the gold mine. Her dreams got lost in the sieve. Her husband, the crow, killed under the railroad. The spokes has shorn his wings. Something's cooking in Chin's kitchen. 10,000 yellow-bellied sapsuckers baked in a pie. Something's cooking in Chin's kitchen. 10,000 yellow-bellied sapsuckers baked in a pie. Something's cooking in Chin's kitchen. Die, die, yellow bird, die, die. Oh, crack an egg on the griddle, yellow will ooze into white. Oh, crack an egg on the griddle, yellow will ooze into white. Run, run, sweet little Puritan, yellow will ooze into white. If you cut my yellow wrists, I'll teach my yellow toes to write. If you cut my yellow wrists, I'll teach my yellow toes to write. If you cut my yellow fists, I'll teach my yellow feet to fight. Do not be afraid to perish, my mother. Buddha's compassion is nigh. Do not be afraid to perish, my mother. Our boat will sail tonight. Your babies will reach the promised land. The stars will be their guide. I am so mellow yellow, Buddha sings in my veins. I am so mellow yellow, Buddha sings in my veins. Oh, take me to the land of the unreborn. There's no life on earth without pain. So I'm looking forward to those blues poems coming coming this week for my students. Okay. I'm gonna read some Chinese quatrains. I'm gonna read these for Adrian, who made this request on classic rock radio. So so he made a request just about an hour ago. And Chinese quatrains, I've been working on this hybrid quatrain for years, and they're fashioned after the Chinese cut verse, and each piece is self-contained, but of course the sequence together has a larger impact. And I guess that's all I'll say for now. Chinese quatrains, The Woman in Tomb 44. The airplane is shaped like a bird or a giant mechanical penis. My father escorts my mother from girlhood to unhappiness. Now, you know, when penis rhymes with unhappiness, you know that's a feminist poem, right? Okay, back to the poem now. A dragonfly has iridescent wings. Shorn is a lowly pismire, plucked of arms and legs, a throbbing red pepper pod. Baby, she's a girl, pinkly propped as a doll. Baby, she's a pearl, an oyster in the oyster of God. Cry, little baby clam, cry. The steam has opened your eyes. Your secret darkly hidden. The razor is sharpening the knife. Abandoned towel leaf boat, its lonely black sail broken. The corpses are fat and bejeweled. The hull is thoroughly rotten. The worm has entered the ear and out the nose of my father, cleaned the pelvis of my mother, and ringed around her finger bone. One child beats a bedpan, one beats a fishhook out of wire, one beats his half-sister on the head. Oh, teach us to fish and love. Don't say her boudoir is too narrow. She could sleep but in one cold bed. Don't say you own many horses. We escaped on her skinny mare's back. Man is good, said Mengzi. We must cultivate their natures. Man is evil, said Sunzi. There's a worm in the human heart. He gleaned a beaded purse from Hong Kong. He procured an oval fan from Taiwan. She married him for a green card. He abandoned her for a blonde. My grandmother is calling her goslings. My mother is summoning her hens. The sun has vanished into the ocean. The moon has drowned in the fen. Disc of jade for her eyelids, a lozenge of pearl for her throat, lapis and kudzu in her nostrils. They will rob her again and again. Summary turtle soup for Chris Fink because he loves turtles. And yeah, and this is one, this is a high school students love this poem. So they, They often send me emails about it. So, turtle soup. You go home one evening tired from work, and your mother boils you turtle soup, 12 hours hunched over the hearth. Who knows what else is in that cauldron? You say, Ma, you poached the symbol of long life. That turtle lived 4,000 years, excuse me, swam the way up the Yellow, over the Yangtze, witnessed the Bronze Age, the High Tong, grazed on splendid sericulture. So she boils the life out of him. All our ancestors have been fools. Remember Uncle Wu, who wrote 10,000 miles to kill a famous Manchu and ended up with his head on a pole? Eat, child, its liver will make you strong. Sometimes you're the life, sometimes the sacrifice. Her sobbing is inconsolable. So you spread the gentle napkin over your lap in decorous Pasadena. Baby, some high priestess has got it wrong. The golden decal on the green underbelly says, made in Hong Kong. Is there nothing left but the shell and humanity's strange inscriptions, the songs, the rites, the oracles? Thanks, Chris, for liking that poem, the turtle poem. I guess this is the season of politics and of voting and of sonnets. So this poem is called Black President. So my class will be writing sonnets. I can't write a perfect sonnet, but I write imperfect sonnets. Write perfect like Elizabethan Chinglish. Therefore, I write imperfect sonnets or sonnet variations. So this one is called Black President. If a Black man could be president, could a white man be his slave? Could a sinner enter heaven by uttering his name? If the Terminator is my governor, could a cowboy be my king? When shall the cavalry enter Deadwood and save my prince? An exo-cannibal eats her enemies. An Indo-cannibal eats her friends. I'd rather starve myself silly than to make amends. Blood on the altar, blood on the lamb, blood in the chalice, not symbolic, but fresh. Everybody knows who the Terminator is, whether you go to China, Cambodia, or the Soviet Union. You know, they don't call it Soviet Union anymore, Russia. But everybody they all know who the Terminator is. I'm going to read my bad girl libidinous haiku. We wrote haiku just last week, so we had a great time. We had haiku parties, and there were just wonderful, weird poems coming out of that haiku party. So I'm going to read my bad girl libidinous anti-Zen haiku. I can't really call them haiku. I guess I can call them 17 syllable things, because to be true haiku, they need to have that Zen, they have to have that Zen quality to them. And these are obviously these are bad girl haiku, and they're anti-Zen. Furthermore, I wanted to say that the haiku, that the Japanese invented the haiku. They borrowed from the Chinese dreju, the quatrain, that the and so that's, you know, the dreju, the quatrains I read before really are related to these haiku in many ways. The Japanese poets wrote the Chinese quatrains first, and then they invented the haiku. 25 haiku. 100 red fire ants scouring the white peony. Fallen plum blossoms return to the branch. You sleep, then harden again. Cuttlefish in my palm stiffens with rigor mortis. Boy toys can't love. Neighbor's barn grass mat, crickets, blue boy, trowel handle, dress soaked in mud. Iron-headed mace, double-studded halberd, slice into emptiness. Oh, fierce goose, tie me to 2 wild elephants, tear me in half. Oh, my swarthy herder, 2 humped Bactrian, drive me the long distance. Forceps, tongs, bushy, whip, flanks, scabbard, stirrup, goads, distaff, wither, owl. Black-eyed Susans, Queen Anne's lace, bounty of cyclamen, moan paths erupt. Gaze at the charred hills, the woebegone kiosks, we are all God's hussies. I have not fondled the emperor's lapdog, whose name is Black Muzzle. Urge your horses into the mist-swilled Galilee, oh, sweet Bedlamite. Majesty's standing up the jewel stairs to find the pleasure dome. Ancient pond, the frog jumps in and in and in, the deep slap of water. The frog jumps into the ancient pond. She says, no, I am not ready. Coyote cooked his dead wife's vagina. To geese. Let's do it on the antimacassar. Little Red drew her teeny pistol from her basket and said, eat me. Chimera, Madame Pol Pot grafting a date tree onto a date tree. His unworthy appendage, his mutinous henchman, grazed my pink cheeks. He on top now changes to bottom. Goddess welcomes her devotee. Fish, fish, foul, foul, mock me, Mistress Bean Curd. We are both duck and essence. Sing, sing, little yellow bright. Sing, sing, little yellow blight. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Don't touch him, bitch. We're engaged. And besides, he's wearing my nipple ring. the last haiku is a found haiku. I heard it in, while one of my students was saying something to this effect into her cell phone. So it's a found haiku. So they're weird, they're weird haiku. We'll talk more about them in class. I want to read Formosan Elegy. Here are quatrains that sound more like Western ballads, and no, I wanted to. I wrote this for my boyfriend Charles, who died in the Singapore airline accident in the year 2000. Formosa is a Portuguese name for Taiwan. It means beautiful. What else do I want to say about it? I want to read this as a dirge, as an elegy for all those who have died in this COVID in the COVID pandemic. Formosan Elegy for Charles. You have lived 6 decades and you have lived none. You have loved many and you have loved no one. You wedded 3 wives, but you lie on your cold bed alone. You sired 4 children, but they cannot forgive you. Knock at emptiness, a house without your love. Strike the pine box, no answer, all hollow. You planted plums near the gate, but they bear no fruit. You raised herbs in the veranda, fresh and savory. I cry for you, but no sound wells up in my throat. I sing for you, but my tears have dried in my gullet. Walk the old dog, give the budgies a cool bath. Cut a tender melon, let it bleed into memory. The robe you washed hangs like a carcass flayed. The mug you loved is stained with old coffee. Your toothbrush is silent. Grease mums home. Something's lost, something's made strong. Around the corner, a new prince yearns to be loved. A fresh turn of phrase, a bad strophe erased. A random image crafts itself into a poem. A sleepless Taipei night, a mosquito's symphony. Who will cry for you, me and your sister Colette? Who will cry for you, me and your Algerian sister? You were a rich man, but you held on to your poverty. You were a poor man who loved gold over dignity. I sit near your body bag and sing you a last song. I sit near your body bag and chant your final sutra. What's our place on earth? Nada, nada, nada. What's our destiny? War, grief, maggots, nada. Arms, cheeks, cock, femur, eyelids, nada. Cowl, ox, lamb, vellum, marrow, nada. Vulva, nada. Semen, nada. Ovum, nada. Eternity, nada. Heaven, nada. Void, nada. Birth and death, the same blackened womb. Birth and death, the same white body bag. Detach, detach, we enter the world alone. Detach, detach, we leave the world bone lonely. If we can't believe in God, we must believe in love. We must believe in love. We must believe in love. And they zip you up in your white body bag. white body bag, white, white body bag. So, um, so how are we doing for time? Everybody, what do you want to hear? Chris, you want to hear?
I think you're doing great.
Okay.
That was a killer. You better lighten us up after that one.
I'm gonna lighten you up. That's really like, oh my gosh. Okay, I know. Oh, I know. Geez, I didn't. Okay. I better light you up, man. Okay. I'm going to read. In the November issue of Poetry Magazine, I'll have a 15-page spread of new poems, and I've been writing these little tales and this revisionist fairy tales and ancient folk tales. And when I was researching tales, there are a lot of tales about turnips and radishes and and carrots and all kinds of vegetables. So I decided to write one about turnip. So I'm going to read this little tale. I hope it cheers you up. Okay, enough elegies. Okay, no more elegies. Okay. Turnip, an autobiography. There once lived a little girl named Maylin, who was as dumb and stubborn as a turnip. Her grandmother wanted to help her succeed in life, so she pulled her by her long green braids and said, "If I pull you out of this wretched, war-torn earth, perhaps you could turn into somebody that people don't dislike." Difficult it is for a Chinese grandmother to give a true compliment. Affection must be doled out sparingly, lest the girl child become too arrogant, unmanageable, and worst of all, unmarriageable. Despite her aching bursitis and rotor cuffs, grandmother pulled and pulled, but the turnip was stubbornly unmoved. So she called her half-sister Auntie Wu, who was half Mongolian and stood 6 feet tall in her holy stockings and was an amateur bodybuilder. The giantess appeared wearing an embarrassing psychedelic orange house frock, shouting, "You got to squat low, then lift. That is the way of Arnie Schwarzenegger and Chow Lei's Olympic gold clean and jerk method." The well-meaning wise women each tugged on a braid. They pulled and pulled, but the turnip refused to budge a centimeter. The father, whom Maylin despised with bartholicious passion. In fact, she dreamed of seeing him buried to his neck in horse poop and villagers pummel him with rotten apples. He stepped on the strong shoulders of Auntie Wu and Granny Wang and said, "Let a real man show you, foolish women, that a man's job is to protect his family and drag them from the mire." Maylin hated him because he was an imbecile and had disappeared for months for bouts of gambling and womanizing, impoverishing the family, and made his wife go begging at the Salvation Army pantry for food until she died of exhaustion. He tried grunting and swearing, but all his manly expressions and masculinist idiocy made the turnip clutch deeper into her roots. Finally, grandmother used her fantastical wild card and text Mei Ling's sister, Mooney, who was busy agitating for Pride Month, sporting a naked bodkin-painted rainbow and a shocking purple mohawk. She, in turn, dialed up her magical goddess cell phone and summoned the heavenly great matriarch to help. The heavenly great matriarch manifested from her cosmic grave wearing a vintage outfit circa 1961, a raspberry pink Chanel suit topped with a matching pillbox hat. Dearest girl children, excuse me for this teachable moment. FLOTUS Jacqueline Kennedy wore this exact outfit during the swearing in of Lyndon B. Johnson on Inauguration Day, November 22nd, 1963. The skirt was still stained by the blood of our beloved President Kennedy's sacrifice. Sadly, it symbolized the intractable violence of our troubled, divided nation. So the great matriarch took off her white gloves and with a trusty nail file, she chiseled around the recalcitrant earth, sprinkling a palmful of fairy dust, whereupon the turnip wriggled out by her own volition and free will, inculcated with a healthy dose of class struggle. She was further fortified with dried fungus, curcumin, and an extreme list of essential ingredients, and an awesome bit of poetry. What do you think? Fictionista, did you like that? Okay, for the fictionistas. Okay. Okay. Okay, I guess I shall end with Sage 3. This is a poem, a fairly new poem that you could get. It's published in poets.org. And it's really a very simple composition with so sometimes simple is best. Sage 3. This poem's about looking for the sage and not finding her. Some say she moved in with her ex-girlfriend in Taiwan. Some say she went to Florida to wrestle alligators. Some say she went to Peach Blossom Spring to drink tea with Tao Chen. Miho says she's living in Calexico with 3 cats and a gerbil named Max. Some say she's just a shadow of the great society, a parody of what might have been. Ria saw her stark raving mad between 23rd and View of the Americas, wrapped in a flag. I swear I saw her floating in a motel pool, topless on a plastic manatee, palms up. What in hell? What is poetry? What are stars? Whence comes the end of suffering?
Beautiful. It was beautiful, Marilyn. Thank you so much. So much enjoyment, highs and lows. You know, after you were reading that Formosan elegy, and I was about to break into tears here.
Oh, I
So beautiful, so beautiful. And I love the turnip. I love the the vegetable tails. I applaud that. I was thinking, I think it was Beckett who said, "What do I know of the human heart? I can tell you more about turnips." Yes.
Yeah.
So
I'm writing these, yeah, these tales. I think it would take me another 10,000 years to finish them, but
Yeah, one per vegetable. Yes, I love it. So thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for sticking with us, crowd. I hope you're out there. I feel like I'm in a little room here with Professor Chin, and we're having a great time. But I'm hoping you're all in the big room enjoying it. And so we're about to come to the end of our evening. Now is normally the time I would invite you to come up and have your book signed by our poet. But unfortunately, we can't do that. So you can go out and buy one if you want to. That would be great. And I promised. And then after that, I would invite you to Suds, and I would open up my wallet and buy you picture after picture of ice water. And but we can't do that. But I promise that we'll invite Professor Chin back when COVID times are over. We'll have her here in person, and maybe as an introduction, we'll play a little snippet of this beautiful YouTube video that we've made tonight. Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you. Thank you. Bye everyone.